What's up YouTube? Danny Boy EDH back with another Commander deck tech video. Today we're looking at Shalai, Voice of Plenty. This is a return to the Angels tribe that we first looked at in the Lyra Dawnbringer deck. We are moving from mono white to Selesnya here, so we're adding green to the mix, which is going to give us some more ramp to help accelerate into our big creature spells, get those angels out. And it will also give us some nice hexproof, as we can see from our commander here. Shalai, Voice of Plenty, a 4-mana legendary angel. It's a 3/4 with flying that provides you, Planeswalkers you control, and other creatures that you control have hexproof. And you can also pay 6 mana, 4 and 2 green to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So that's a good way to dump your mana late game if you've got nothing else going on. You can always buff your board, your hexproof creatures, to hopefully fly in for some damage. The Angels, led by Shalai, will give our whole team hexproof with the exception of Shalai. And then the other possible commander could be Sigarda, Host of Hirons, which has flying and hexproof itself. It doesn't provide hexproof to your other creatures, but it does prevent abilities and spells your opponents control to cause you to sacrifice permanents. A good way to hang on to your big creatures, because nothing feels worse than sacrificing something like an Avacyn. So basically, we're trying to get out a bunch of angels and try and swing in for some flying damage. If we are not winning just by good old-fashioned combat damage, we are looking at something like Felidar Sovereign, which, if you have 40 or more life at the beginning of your upkeep, you win the game. This is a 6-mana creature that has vigilance and lifelink built in, so as we know, the Angels are looking to gain a lot of life. It's one of their main to-dos. And so 40 or more life is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And with Shalai, our creatures have hexproof, so if these are hard to target, they'll be hard to remove, and hopefully could get a win under these conditions. Angel of Destiny has flying and double strike. And some very interesting abilities. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. So this trigger goes onto the stack after damage is done. Your opponent will gain the life back, so it's almost like they net 0. However, you will also gain that much life. And this would stack on top of lifelink as a static ability on a creature. So it's basically double life gain on, it's almost like double lifelink in a way. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player that Angel of Destiny attacked this turn loses the game. So it won't necessarily win you the game on the spot, but it will take one player out if you're able to deal damage to them and gain enough life. And then, of course, Avacyn, a potential game closer, just giving all your permanents indestructible. It's pretty huge. That is a huge card. This plus Wrath of God might get you a scoop. So now we'll look at some of the non-angels that we have in the deck. We got green here, so we're trying to start off quick with a Llanowar Elves or Fyndhorn Elves to start giving us some extra mana on turn 2 and going forward. Speaker of the Heavens has vigilance and lifelink, and it can also tap to create a 4/4 angel token. Activate only if you have 7 life more than your starting total, and only as a sorcery. Esper Sentinel, some white card draw from Modern Horizons 2. Basically like a Rhystic Study on a 1/1 body. Well, I guess it's a little more complicated than that. Whenever opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. So if you're able to buff it up, you increase the tax and potentially draw more cards. Weathered Wayfarer can tap to search your library for any land card and reveal it, put it into your hand. You can only activate if an opponent controls more lands than you. So you can grab Nykthos or whatever kind of specialty lands you got in your deck. We have Heliod Suncrowned to distribute +1/+1 counters onto our creatures as we gain life, and also to provide lifelink to our creatures. Without Lyra at the helm, the life gain is definitely a lot less. However, we do have cards like Heliod in here to provide some more consistent life gain. Beast Whisperer and Toski to hopefully draw some cards from casting creatures or dealing damage with them. A lot of our flying creatures are usually pretty good to get in for damage, so if we have a lot of flyers, that's a good way to get in for some card draw. Odric Lunarch Marshal will spread abilities across all of our creatures at the beginning of each combat, and Hexproof is on there among a few other things. Let's take a look at them all. First Strike, Flying, Death Touch, Double Strike, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Skulk, Trample, and Vigilance. Realistically, in this deck, you're probably looking at First Strike, Double Strike, Flying, Hexproof, Lifelink, Vigilance, and Indestructible. So you're definitely still looking to spread a decent amount of abilities out and make your creatures really threatening. Nykthos Paragon, another new one from Modern Horizons 2. Whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. If you're able to swing in with a 5/5 lifelinker or something to that effect, gain a decent chunk of life at once, that will totally change the state of your board. So that's I haven't played that card yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting to enjoy that trigger with a big life gain. And now we're getting into the angels here. We got Righteous Valkyrie on the right from Kaldheim. Whenever another angel enters the battlefield under your control, or a cleric, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness, as long as you have at least 7 or more life than your starting life total. Creatures you control get +2/+2. That's a huge boost, not to mention the life gain that you'll be getting off that creature. Righteous Valkyrie is definitely one of the key cards in this deck. Resplendent Angel, also a very key 3-drop. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 angel token with flying and vigilance, and you can activate it to basically provide its own ability to trigger that, giving it +2/+2 and lifelink, which will gain you 5 life. Angel of Vitality increases our life gain as we go, and will also get bigger if we have 25 or more life. Gisela, the Broken Blade, flying, First Strike, lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control Gisela and Bruna, you will exile them, then meld them together into an Angel Horror. Bruna is also in the deck. She's coming up shortly. We got Angel of Jubilation. Other non-black creatures you control get +1/+1, and another way to prevent paying of life or sacrificing creatures to activate abilities. Archangel of Tithes can prevent your opponents from blocking your creatures or from attacking into you, depending on whether Archangel of Tithes is untapped or attacking. So if you have Vigilance, you can get both of those benefits. Linvala will turn off activated abilities that our opponents control. Guardian Seraph will slow down the damage dealt to us by 1 each time. And then we've got Glorious Enforcer, flying lifelink, and at the beginning of each combat, if you have more life than an opponent, this seems very likely, Glorious Enforcer gains double strike until end of turn. That would be a pretty big deterrent for someone to swing into us. We've got Angel of Invention, Archangel of Thune, and Shattered Angel. Angel of Invention can enter as, it's got a Fabricate, so you can put 2+1/+1 counters on it or create 2 servo tokens. It's a Lord, so it gives +1/+1 to all our creatures. They don't have to be angels. Archangel of Thune, flying and lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This is definitely reminiscent of the new Nykthos Paragon we just saw. This one you can trigger as many times as you like, so that can definitely be pretty strong. And Shattered Angel, this will get you some triggers to gain life. Whenever a land ETB is under an opponent's control, you may gain 3 life. People will probably try and play lands. I don't think they'll stop playing lands just to prevent you from gaining life. And if they do, that's a win too. We got Karmic Guide, to return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Lyra Dawnbringer, the former commander, giving lifelink to all our angels, and being a flying first strike lifelinker herself, always powerful. Herald of War will decrease the cost of our angel spells as we make it bigger. It gets +1/+1 counters on it whenever it attacks, and it costs 1 less to cast angel spells for each counter on it. Serra's Guardian provides vigilance to all our creatures. Valkyrie Harbinger is another, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, create an angel token, and it also has lifelink itself. Victory's Herald can provide attacking creatures our team controls with flying and lifelink whenever it attacks. And then we've got Amiria Shepherd, which can return non-land permanent cards from our graveyard to our hand whenever a land enters. If it's a plains, you may return that card to the battlefield instead. That's a huge trigger. Safara Sky's Blade is like a kind of like a budget Avacyn in more ways than one. You may pay a single white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than pay its mana cost. That's pretty low. It does give flying and indestructible to your other creatures. And we've got Serra's Emissary, another new Modern Horizons card. Choose a card type as it enters, and you and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type. Me, off the top of my head, I think creatures, but I mean, you can't go wrong picking anything there. Bruna, the Fading Light, as we mentioned earlier, paired with Gisela will meld into Brizella. And whenever you cast it, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Lyra Dawnbringer will do the same on each of your upkeeps. And that is it for the creatures, all of which Shalai will be providing hexproof to, which is nice. Thank you, Shalai. And now we'll move into the Planeswalkers, which also are hexproof as a result of our commander. So Serra the Benevolent, you can +2 to give creatures you control with flying, +1/+1 till end of turn. Or my favorite, -3, create an angel token. That's usually what you're doing right out of the gate. That will be a nice big blocker for Serra herself. And as well as being hexproof, that's just a pretty good setup right there. And we've also got Johnny the Great-Hearted to provide vigilance to our team. Also has life gain built in the plus ability to give 3 life. And we can -2 to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker. Serra is the only other planeswalker in the deck, so that would be really more just for the +1/+1 counters, but that's not bad either. Alright, now we've got a few enchantments here. Dawn of Hope to gain some card draw when we gain life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do draw a card, you can also create 1/1s with lifelink. Elemental Bond, whenever a creature with power 3 or greater ETBs under your control, draw a card. Also basically reads whenever an angel enters, draw a card. Path of Bravery, as long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever one or more creatures you control attack, you gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. Attack with 5, gain 5. We got Ghostly Prison to prevent opponents from swinging into us, and Unflinching Courage and Armadillo Cloak, basically the same card, providing trample, lifelink, and +2/+2 to one of our creatures to help us get in for those life gaining triggers if need be. And now we got Guardian Project to draw us cards whenever a non-token creature enters under our control if we don't have another creature with the same name. We're playing Commander, so basically whenever a creature enters under your control, draw a card. Angelic Accord, the last of these type of effects. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 angel. This one doesn't have vigilance, but it does check at each end step, which is nice. Now we got artifacts to help us get into casting our big creatures. We got Soul Ring, Selesnya Signet, and Pearl Medallion to reduce the cost of white spells. Herald's Horn, choosing angels most likely. Coalition Relic to provide ramp and mana storage. Well of Lost Dreams to turn our life gain into card draw. And now let's take a look at some of the green ramp, some of the best additions to the deck, because we do have the high CMC of our creatures. So we got things like 3 Visits, Kodama's Reach, and Cultivate to help us get to those high mana values. We've also got some removal here. Swords and Path to Exile, as well as Unexpectedly Absent. Pay X and 2 white to put target non-land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards. X can always be 0 to put it on the top of their library. That can be used defensively or offensively, however you need it. And we've got Sundering Growth to destroy target artifact or enchantment. I did go with that over Return to Nature just because it has the Populate built in, so you could potentially get a 4/4 angel with vigilance and flying out of it, but Return to Nature perhaps the better choice. Heroic Intervention to give our team Hexproof and Indestructible, and Wrath of God right next to it, which could be a potential game-winning scenario if your play group is not ready to be wiped only one-sided. You basically give your team Indestructible and then destroy all of the creatures. That's a good way to close out the game as well. And that is about it. So let's take a look at the lands here. I don't have the best land base, but you can just always Google Selesnya lands and take a look at them. But Temple Garden would be your shock land, and Sunpetal Grove, check land. But we got Command Tower. Bredegard Stronghold can give a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures we control. They gain Vigilance and Lifelink until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a good little way late game to just pitch the land for some utility. Temple of Plenty will give us a scry when it enters. Path of Ancestry will get scries as well when we cast Angels. Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds to find our basics, and then we've got Secluded Step for cycling, and Seraph Sanctuary to to gain life when it enters and provide more life gain as Angels ETB under our control. And other than that, we are looking at a bunch of basics. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 17 planes, and 12 forests. And that is basically it for Shalai Voice of Plenty. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate everybody for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, I really dig it. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing, and stay tuned for more deck videos in the future. Appreciate you watching. Thank you.